Hello, welcome to Mindless Entertainment. I'm Jesse Milestone, and I am in the bath. Yes, I'm in a hotel room in Memphis, which is awesome, because there's a bath here, and there's not a bath in my apartment, so it's always exciting when I get to take a bath, which is why I'm spending as much time in it as possible, and maximizing the use of my time by presenting you today's video in the bath. So today was an idea suggested by Norm, who's one of my patrons, and Norm gave me the reins to the DC universe. He said, "This is yours now. What do you do? Do you rebuild it? Would you start fresh? Would you take what you have? Whatever, etc., etc." So, here we go. So we have some movies that already exist now in the DC universe. We've got Batman versus Superman. We have Man of Steel. That came first, actually. We have Wonder Woman, and we have the Justice League. Now, only one of these was actually a remotely good movie. One of them was an okay movie. Man of Steel wasn't trash, but it had some issues if you're a fan of Superman. So let's go through and let's say, okay, right off the bat, Batman versus Superman, we're scrapping that. Forget that movie. Forget that movie ever happened, please God. And Justice League, that one is gone as well. We're just gonna pretend that didn't happen, and start fresh from those. Now, Man of Steel, and Wonder Woman. Okay, Wonder Woman, let's just put out there. Wonder Woman, I am keeping. I'm keeping that as a film. I'm keeping that. That's Wonder Woman's origin story. It's a great setup for her character. It does a wonderful job, I think, of telling us who she is. As a film, look, it still pales in comparison to the Marvel Universe, but I'll take it. I think that there are a lot of it's a great female character. She's strong, yet also vulnerable, but she's not, like, overly naive. A little too naive for my taste, personally, but I can understand how, okay, we're going on a journey of learning and growing, etc. I can live with that movie. I'm not going to make any claims I can do it better, so I'm going to leave that one where it is. I am, like I said, so Batman vs. Superman's gone. Man of Steel, I'm keeping the name. And that's pretty much it. We don't need a Superman origin story. I mean, let's face it, guys, Superman is one of the most recognizable heroes, if not the most, of all time. He comes from the planet Krypton. His weakness is kryptonite. Like, we know this stuff, guys. We don't need an origin story explaining where Superman comes from. That's sort of crazy. So let's instead have an established world where Superman is a given. Superman in Metropolis. If you don't know this, by the way, Metropolis is based on Chicago. So that's where that is. And that's going to become important because Gotham is obviously based on New York. And those two cities are not fucking next to each other. And they're not going to be next to each other in my universe. Gotham is going to be where New York is basically, and Metropolis is going to be where Chicago is. It works. So in my movie, in my Man of Steel, I mean, if you want, like, for the people, because we want to be user-friendly, you know, 15 minutes, that's sort of your beginning, your intro-ish area of, okay, Superman lands on Earth and gets adopted by these people who realize he has special gifts and growing up is hard, but he becomes Superman. Like, you know, let's flash forward some montages and or maybe just newspaper headlines of Superman saving the day and now he's a hero. Great, done. We've got Lois Lane, and all that, and this is good. That's good. That's where we got it. If you even want, like, we can, you know, after we do our little flashy baggy, we can open with a scene of Superman defeating a villain and then coming home to Lois Lane as Clark Kent, you know, or start out with him doing his job, maybe start out with him doing his reportery job, monster comes along, he Supermans it up and does his thing. And now the thing is, Superman doesn't kill. Superman does not kill, so we're not going to have any General Zod type problem where he's forced into having to kill or something like that. So he's not going to do that. Superman is going to do what he does best. Actually, Superman rehabs a lot of his villains. So maybe we even see that in the very, very beginning where he actually, like, takes a monster and is like, look, you don't have to be a monster. You could be a wonderful non-monster entity. So that's how we're gonna set up Superman. And we're gonna lighten the mood here a little bit, because let's face it, DC Universe is real dark, and there's room for that. I have no problem with darkness, but, like, let's lighten that up with Superman. Superman is a black and white character. He's the epitome of good. He's the struggle of good versus evil, and he is a quintessential good guy. There aren't really shades of gray here. So we'll have him be a good guy. And now obviously we need a movie with some conflict. Let's have like maybe someone like Toyman as his villain. So we can create a whole bunch of robots. So we can see Superman like kick the shit out of robots, because of course we want to see Superman kick the shit out of things. And then maybe the real moral struggle here, the real thing that brings the human element and the conflict into Superman. Let's say, okay, Superman, this big, powerful guy who happens to be white, so let's say that the neo-Nazis have now decided he's their god, and that he represents everything that's important and good about them, and now he becomes a figure for white supremacy in their minds, and let's deal with that socio-political fallout. Let's deal with that as our moral gray area and as our question that needs to be answered, and the thing that brings up questions to his character and makes him, polarizes him. Not his actual character, not his actual acts. And then you like have the opportunity for maybe a great scene, or maybe we have a different villain somewhere in here that he can like be helping out, rehabbing, making a better person, maybe brings him out to the Fortress of Solitude and they have a chat about good and evil. Like that'd be fun, right? That'd be cute. So you have that, like, so you have your moral struggle and your questions about Superman, and then you have, but you have him as your setup, and you have the overall mood of the film be a little more playful, a little more light. Obviously, anything dealing with the neo-Nazis is going to get a little heavy and dark. So your relief is this black and white good and evil struggle, with comedic elements and stuff like that. Great, okay, and I'm cool with Henry. Actually, the casting I think is all fine. I'm going to keep keeping the cast. So Henry Cavill, he can handle it. So there's Superman, right? You start with there, and then we go to Batman. Batman needs his own goddamn movie. You don't just introduce a new Batman with Batman versus Superman. Like, have a Batman movie, Have a real fucking Batman movie. Have a Batman movie with a good Harvey Dent, with a good Two-Face character. Because let's face it, Tommy Lee Jones. I love his Two-Face. I absolutely adore it. The Aaron Eckhart Two-Face was just wasted. Like, barely had any screen time, is gone in one movie. That's just a fucking waste. So let's have a real Harvey Dent. And I do like the Riddler Two-Face dichotomy. I like the professionalism of Two-Face paired with the sort of raw improvisation of the Riddler. But at the same time, even though the Riddler's a little more like, I don't really know how to villain, there's also a sense to which he has like a more thought out plan, whereas Two-Face is sort of a wild card with the coin flip. I like that balance that you had in Batman Forever, actually. You guys, if you've seen my videos, know my feelings about Batman Forever. So I'd almost bring back those two villains for my Batman movie. And then, like, maybe we get a whiff of Superman somewhere in there. Maybe Batman needs him for something, like somehow he gets involved. Or maybe he shows up to get involved and Batman's like, step off, this ain't your turf, Superman can get to Gotham like that. And, like, let's face it, if we need Batman to get to Metropolis, I'm pretty sure his Batjet can get there in under an hour. So that distance is not an issue. And I think maybe we have Superman, I think we do have Superman pop in, pretty much just to be like, I can help, and Batman being like, no, bitch, step off. So we can have that little bit of tension there, that little bit of maybe like, and then get that balance of Batman's our gray area villain, hero. Batman is this vigilante who's not accepted the way that Superman is. And we can have that, maybe that sense of jealousy there, that Superman is a beloved figure and Batman is more polarizing and that kind of thing, and maybe Batman takes a jibe at him about the whole neo-Nazi thing that happened in the last movie. Woo, who knows? So then you have your two powerhouse guys set up, done. Like I said, Wonder Woman, we're keeping that. I like that movie. That's good. Aquaman, I think, should get his own movie before we jump into the Justice League. I do, and so he's Arthur Curry, as they named him, which is fine. I mean, just you're talking about there's been two different primary DC Aquaman. So if you're Arthur Curry, you're the later one, and they did seem to indicate that he's something to do with the Atlantean royal heritage, which I'm fine with. I kind of like the idea of like I don't know where they're going with this particular origin story for him. I kind of like the idea of maybe a bastard, part earth, like part land dwelling, part Atlantean royalty. Not accepted, and I like a film where he struggles with that identity, where he ends up like saving the day, where he ends up saving Atlantis from I don't really care who the bad guy is, but from some thread, he saves Atlantis and yet is still not accepted, so we get that bitter jadedness. I love that in his character. I think Jason Momoa did that really well in Justice League. I mean, most of Justice League is bad, but there are elements of it that are great, and the flashes of what Aquaman can be, I think, is one of the good things. And so I want that sort of anti-hero, that Han Solo-esque, like, I look out for myself kind of feeling. And I want us to see that sort of origin story of someone striving for acceptance who ends up as someone who's like, fuck this, I did everything I could, and you guys just don't accept me. So I want to see that in my Aquaman movie. I want to see him just, like, us understand why he's this rogue. And why he's just out for himself. Now, okay, so we've kept Wonder Woman. Now what I want is, maybe this is Wonder Woman 2, is what we're going to call it. And I want it to take place very shortly after the death of Chris Pine's character and the events of that. So we may even still be World War II, because a lot of Aquaman canon does take place in World War II as well. And now I want to see a common threat, because that was another cool thing about Justice League, again, one of the few things, is the shared history, the shared threat between some of the mythology with the Amazons and the Atlanteans. And now I like that split, so let's have a dual threat, where now all of a sudden, you know, even though Arthur Curry's an outcast, we have Aquaman needing to fight to protect Atlantis, and Wonder Woman maybe gets on board, and the two of them now have to team up to defeat some common threat to their ways of life. Maybe it's someone who's starting to expose both their cultures. That could be fun. And that's really important to them. It's obviously for their perpetuity that they stay hidden, so they sort of fight to do that at the same time. But I don't want Jason Momoa's character. I don't want Aquaman to grow and develop too much in this version. I think this is just adds more richness to Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman. Maybe she starts developing some feelings for him. And this is almost like a rebound from, you know, her dead lover from the first movie, and this ends poorly for her as well. I think that adds more complexity to her character, and I think we're not ready for the catharsis of Aquaman just yet. That we'll get, you know, more in the Justice League. So this one ends with them accomplishing their goals and him sort of being like, nah, I still can't commit, floating away. So you have Wonder Woman 2 now. Okay, so now you have all this set up. I don't think we need a Flash movie. We had a Flash TV show. We're all very acquainted with his existence in life. And with the Batman one, by the way, I don't think that should be an origin film either. I think that should also be, you know, like here's an established Batman. Obviously, they're creating him as like a more older, more veteran Batman. We've had enough Batman origin stories. We don't need to see where he comes from. I don't think we need to know where I don't think we need a Flash movie, because I think that we get a lot of that with this whole TV show and whatnot. And the Flash can kind of be that guy, like, you know, almost like he is in the Justice League, where they're like, oh, you have powers, so we're recruiting you, and we don't really, like, you're more of our comic relief fall guy. That's fine. I mean, I think he can have character and personality and purpose. I think maybe his purpose in the fold, like, I think they made him a little too much the way that Spider-Man is in the Marvel movies, and a little, you know, didn't give him enough of his own person. And I think what we can have with the Flash is a little more moral flexibility in terms of bending the law, breaking the law, like what he's willing to do, and maybe has something, you know, things where like, oh, we're not going to do that, but you could do it. And I do want, and so we can introduce him, because I feel like he's a known commodity already, so he's easy to introduce in a Justice League movie. And then I feel like Cyborg can be our big introduction, our big focal point in the Justice League film. So now let's have a common threat. Okay, what about Starfire, right? That's a Superman villain. So one of the things that they went for Justice League, because they realized how much fun it would be, oh, let's all fight Superman. Let's have infighting. Infighting is going to look cool because we have these supercharged humans trying to kill each other. So let's have a movie where Starfire's our enemy, so there's this now threat to all of us, and yeah, we're trying to recruit Cyborg, maybe they get the team together for a different threat even, I'm not even sure. But whatever it is, Cyborg's not on board. Cyborg's like, I'm out, I'm not ready to do this, I'm not ready to be around people, and you know, like that characterization I didn't mind from the Justice League. So we'll keep that. So Starfire is a mind control alien, so he takes over people's minds and makes them do their bidding. So now you have a situation, great, okay, we can have that infighting. We can have Starfire slowly take over various members of the Justice League and have them fighting against each other and have them have to figure out how to work together in order to maybe this starts out with, like, Starfire gets a hold of one of them who's not game to do the team thing, like maybe it's Aquaman, and so he's now gone rogue and they're trying to stop him and trying to figure out how to, and slowly more and more of them are getting co-opted by Starfire. And, Starfire's weakness is electricity. Also, Cyborg is this quickly adapting creature, so let's say he's the one guy who's immune. So when it all comes down to it, they're slowly getting taken over. It's becoming more and more hopeless. They're fighting each other, and now they've all been co-opted by Starfire, and Cyborg is their only chance, and now he's the one who has to, like, maybe he goes through and frees Superman, of the bunch, or maybe he goes through and Batman, one of those two, and now the two of them end up working together and slowly getting everybody back, and now we all work together as a team to defeat Starfire in the end. That would be how I do it. I would take my time the way Marvel did. I would give time to set up the characters that need to be set up. I think you can introduce a couple characters in the Justice League. You don't have to have an origin for everybody, but I think having only half your team sort of established isn't enough, and I think Batman is still not established enough because the whole Batman versus Superman movie was just sort of a waste and didn't give us any good characterization. Lex Luthor, I think, was spoiled in Batman vs Superman as well. I think you have him. I want to see him as a character in Man of Steel, not necessarily the main villain, but we get a sense of his evil mastermindy geniusiness, and we get we see him as the billionaire dude that he is, but that he's the one pulling the strings in some element of it, but I don't want him as my main bad guy just yet. I'm gonna save that one. Maybe this is my Justice League 2. Maybe now we have Brainiac and Lex Luthor teaming up, because they're, some of the ultimate ones that Superman faces, but let's not make it all about Superman, so we can have some villains from the other one's canon that maybe come in and axes of evil kind of thing. So that's sort of, it gets fuzzy after that point, but that's how I would set it up, I think. And I think I would specifically have, I would have Batman be darker, be more morally complex and all that stuff, and so you can have that balance of my knight in shining armor, my Superman, my very delineated good and evil Superman against my morally questionable Batman. Now I have my rogue Aquaman, and now I have my full of justice, but also I think Wonder Woman has a more human touch on things even sometimes than Superman does. Superman has this Doctor Who-ian love of all mankind, but I think sometimes Wonder Woman has a more personal connection to the idea of the individual. Superman can be the greater good guy, and Wonder Woman can be the every life matters person. So you have a little more balance, I think, with your whole cast, and that's kind of where I would go with that. So let me know what you think. I'm on Patreon. That's a really awesome thing where you guys can throw money at me to help me support all of this fun stuff that I support doing videos in the bathtub. Yay! It's a great community too. You get exclusive content that I don't post anywhere else. And you get to talk to other awesome people who love mindless entertainment. So go ahead and check that out. The link is in the description down below. And keep watching. We'll be back for more soon.